now I'm going to talk about, I'm going to be practical, but we made a video just, and I started this morning with saying that things that are happening now will affect you. You might not believe it, but it will. So we're trying to give you some information what's going outside of Norway and the work that we have been involved in, visiting all these countries. So now we made a video from the last summit, Building Smart Summit, in Rotterdam, I think, yeah, Rotterdam. So it's 6 minutes. No glumps. Yeah, it is. There is. So here it is. 6 minutes. Enjoy.
The product InfoX project is a project which is funded under the 7th Frame program. It's now actually ending. Now it's for us in 2020, which is in the market. And the work has been involving European associations and national associations and SMEs. So we started up the project to help the SMEs and the different actors in the industry in Europe to have a better defined ways of working together.
I think the importance of this project is that it brought together important stakeholders, and so for me this is a nucleus which then could spread out, which helps others to understand. I think that's one of the important achievements of this project.
So in the project we had the two big areas to look at. One was to do research in Europe to look at standards, local regulations, so it's CEN, ISO, national requirements, and then also to actually deliver something to the market which could be used and that could create a transaction, helping people in different BIM processes.
Well, in order to identify and establish and measure performance, you need to have reference standards that describe performance. And so those standards are different in different countries, but they still relate to the same objects or products in a model.
This is used in the different descriptions when you describe anything in a building. That actually is defined by these standards. So that means that there is a missing link between the specifications on one side and the standards on the other side, and the BIM tools, because they have not focused on actually these standards. So they've been creating their own digital data sets and have not studied these standards.
So it's important to be able to have an association with, say, a door, but that door has different standards in different countries. And so if we have a common name for a door and we can associate different standards with it, that helps people who are doing business in different countries to easily find the standard that they need that describes the performance of a door, for example.
So I believe that the project will help and clarify for the industry why we need to follow these CEN standards, ISO standards, and national requirements. So based on our findings, we created a work process working with Building Smart International to make sure that the standard IFD standard, the tool, it's an implementation of the IFD standard. It's called Building Smart Data Dictionary. So we read a lot of CEN standards in this project, and then we actually created data from these standards to define the language for manufacturers where they actually test their products to define the data for the manufacturer.
The product manufacturers can actually go in and use the data set that's been established in the dictionary, as CoBuilder has, to develop templates that people will ultimately need their product information to be filled out. So it's just a way to centralize them and what I call put in everybody in the same sandbox. Because if everybody's making these data sets separately and storing them separately, how are we all going to work on them? And we're not going to go everywhere. So if the normalization that you were talking about, that happens in the dictionary too. One country can have a data set for what they're doing, and another one has one, and then a third one comes in and starts seeing that these guys use these, and then all of a sudden the three go, well, you were doing the same thing, why don't we just all break it down to this?
There are a lot of classification systems and product databases all over the world. And Building Smart Data Dictionary is the one repository to organize and make available these to all. In my opinion, the work that CoBuilder has done is a very praiseworthy effort and will be very important to get more use of Building Smart Data Dictionary and OpenBIM. Now we have a lot of information on many products and many standards incorporated in Building Smart Data Dictionary. We have a snowball and it has been started to roll.
So we believe again that the Product Info X project will help the different actors to distribute and to collect that data. So the Product Info X will mean that people that are sending or receiving data actually can understand each other because they speak the standards language. So the transaction of data could be done.
This is just one of the summits. I noticed this one there was a change towards data. Now it's really starting to pick up. And I think Building Smart also see that the focus on data is increasing. I'm going to do now a short talk on product data templates. I'll use a spreadsheet and I'll use a presentation. This is something that we will talk to the market about. We're doing webinars. We will do one-to-one talks. And we think that organizations that want to work with data needs to define what kind of information they want to communicate on. So this applies to whoever you are. But what we're helping you with is actually to define it by these standards. But not everything is in the standards. I'll try to run through a user case. It's what we're doing with Skanska UK, so just to explain. So, do the product data, do product information, everything you see, where does that come from, the information? And I don't know how many times I've said it. It doesn't come from Revit, it doesn't come from ArchiCAD, it doesn't come from IFC, it comes from standards. Standards that manufacturers, when they want to manufacture anything, they have defined things. On a window, it would be wind resistance, water resistance, U-value, fire rating, and so on. This is already in the 80s defined. And there are organizations, there are notified bodies around Europe. In Norway, we have SINTEF, Byggforsk, it's just one of them. They are approved by EU to test. So when you do a test, you get the result A, B, C, or D. So you test your product and you get the value. This is the data you move to the market. This is the data you have to move between actors. Nothing else. So the information sits with the manufacturers. The manufacturers these are defined. So I'm not doing a talk on the world thing now. I'm just saying we're in Europe, so we have harmonized standards. These standards are under different directives. So here are some of them. Today, Mathieu mentioned one of them, Construction Product Regulation, which is byggvareforordningen på norsk. So by reading these standards, you would understand that that is just the starting point. But then you need more information, and that if you ask an operator of building what is important information for you, you will get a response. This is important for me. And some of it is defined in standards, some is not. So we've seen that, and I just have to comment, the Construction Product Regulation, it defines essential characteristics, which is taken out of the standard. It's this. The standard describes this. So we're looking at this in the project, not this. So FIEC, Construction Products Association, are now going out and saying Construction Product Regulation, byggvareforordning, is not solving the BIM thing because we need this data set, not this data set. So the regulation is kind of fighting with the need for data. So we're talking about the standards, not the implementation of it in the directives. So there is a common European context for manufacturers. That's predefined. That's what we've done. Read it, I'll show it. And there are different uses. So you can map this to Revit, ArchiCAD, IFC, and so on, so that they would see this data from where they stand. That's why you need the Building Smart Data Dictionary. And there is a lot of things going on where Building Smart are working on MVDs. Standards are talking about asset information requirements, organization information requirements, employers information requirements. It's just the data I'd like to have at that stage, and the information is used by many actors. In here you have some, so it's different actors, clients, specifiers, contractors. So contractors, they are concerned with facility management to deliver. So the specifiers, they specify the how much flux or whatever. This is specification. But different needs for different data at different times. And then also the manufacturer might want to say something which makes his product special. I know I used to come from a marketing side, so of a manufacturer in Norway, so I know that. The way of working that you have to split graphical model, non-graphical, and documents. We're talking about the things in the middle, information. The process, we've been through it. Who's delivering what? We have 50,000 projects in product exchange. We have 4,000 companies registered, either delivering information or being manufacturers or subcontractors. And it is a tool to actually communicate, this is what I'm installing. So the big change now is actually creating this into a process where you can fill the proper data. Something comes from the manufacturer, but not everything. Who's installed it? When was it installed? That cannot come from a manufacturer. It has to come from the subcontractor. So that means that the subcontractors and the contractors have to have a better formalized way of doing it. And that is why these standards is defining it, and then you implement it. So that's product exchange as we see it now. The product data templates, it moves from PDF. Most of the information, not everything, but most of the information is already in PDFs. But that is not machine readable. That is, you can't check, you can't ask, you can't do a process, you can't do proper work. So you need to lift that information out of the PDTs and into this product data template. So that means that I have a template, and how does that work? So I sat down yesterday, I'll try to show. Showing is easier. I'll make it bigger so you can read. Okay, can you read? Yeah. My requirements. I'm pretending to be Skanska, but this is how they've done it. We've created, and this is what's going on in France and in the UK everywhere, is to create a defined, agreed set of information. You start with the standards, and then the market will add more and more information. The structure of it is not important the way that we're working. You can actually create whatever format you'd like. So as I said, it could be Revit, it could be anything. So what you do is that you say, on this product, I'd like to know the name of the manufacturer. The website, no, it's not important. The company number, organization number, org-nummer, yes. The barcode, the serial number of the product, yes. So you sit down and you actually specify here. And this is from the manufacturer data. So this is what we're doing. Is then you have different areas. So what Skanska did is that they went around their different departments with this one data template for Windows. And they asked, what kind of information would I like to have? That's it. Nothing more. This would link then to the Ministry of Justice and everything, because that is something you can start from. What do the Ministry of Justice want? That is a starting point, because that is a client. So they have defined 3 clients. There are governmental projects, normal clients, which say that I don't know what I want. That's the normal. And then you have the I would like emission data, green buildings, BREEAM, whatever, specific. So these 3. So by running through here, you can, sorry, I'll just go up. This is, I could say, on Windows, I'd like, this is just an example though, but glass layers, is coated or not. So you can go through technical information, and then performance. This is the standards. This would be the standards. So here I go with fire rating, airborne sound insulation, thermal transmittance, and so on. So everyone that knows Excel know that I can do this. And I can just check off what I want. And I have created my data requirements. This is what I want. So I can go to my manufacturer, because if you have a model, an IFC model, and you add on this data, you can make an electronic communication with these manufacturers. And the manufacturers would understand what you're talking about. So the performance data is then, as explained, different from Europe to Australia, US, whatever, but it's the same. It's a door, it's a window. Green buildings, something with environmental data. We've been involved in Europe to set a standard on how to distribute data, environmental data, based on something called environmental product declarations. It's an ISO standard to give away your information on how much energy, carbon has been used during production, outside from where it's made to the site, when it's installed, and so on. So this is again standardized. So we're working with a European initiative on how to do this. But then that means that you can, from the building, you can have all this information available. So in this room, I could ask any question. I can get all the information I'd like. And to go back to where we are today, I could set what kind of documents on that object I'd like to have. EPD, Declaration of Performance, Maintenance Information, and Warranty. That's the documents I want, like, to support this information. So you have data and you have PDFs, as we showed in the standard. And that would just flow. So that means that the manufacturer easily could deliver this information, and it could be used. This is just uses COBE, that's in the UK, IFC. The information is then turned away to these different uses, Revit and so on. That means that as a product manufacturer, if I am an architect, I can sit and search in the product database of any manufacturer. I can open up my database, I can search in these properties, which I've set. So all architects in Norway could search in my database. And we believe that that is very important, that manufacturers actually does that, and that is going to happen. And BS3 is a key thing. So these data templates, this work, is mainly, the most tricky part is to read standards, and it's to translate. So at the end today, you will see this in real life. We will show you how it will work in product exchange, and we will show you just briefly GoBIM. GoBIM is the new product, let's say, product tool for any merchant, manufacturer, whoever you are, to input data on what you're actually selling. So that, and it does a lot of things. So we had a lot of work creating it. It has only been 3.5 years. So within 18 years we've been working, that is not a lot of time, but it has been a lot of work. And now we're pushing it out into Europe. Norway is not the main market, but it's our market. So for us, it's very important to try to get the message through to the industry on how this will, what kind of possibilities it would open up for your company. So we have to move away from PDF. Not everything, but specific things. And we need to move into what we call product data sheets. So the product data sheet is using Building Smart Data Dictionary. So I can translate it. So the manufacturers just input this, tells us how many countries do you want to distribute. We have a client, it's Wienerberger. They said 35 countries. So they save a lot of money because it's the same information in all these markets. So we can deliver information in any market, input data once. That's kind of effective. So we integrate this with SAP, any other big systems. So GoBIM is now available for the market. In the UK, we have been talking about this for now 8 months something. And it's getting real interest because it is required to deliver data on governmental projects from the 4th of April. 4th of April. Okay, that's me. So that was just a quick one on product data templates. That's the practical implementation. So that means that this is how this contractor sits down and say, this is what I want every time I purchase a window. You do it once. The cute thing, I think someone else has the same thought, so there will be, I think, templates used by the market, and then you can adjust whatever you'd like. So this is ongoing work. So we believe that when the contractors and the manufacturers actually understand what's going on, that they need to lift their information, then we have a tool to collect and to distribute. Okay, so then we have the next speaker. Is it break? Yeah, it's a break. Sorry. Now it's a break for 15 minutes.